In June 1776, Thomas Jefferson, a quite brilliant Virginian, was asked to write what would become the most important document in American history. The colonies were on the verge of breaking free from Britain, and Jefferson's job was to capture the spirit of that revolution. But how do you put into words the hopes and dreams and frustrations of the entire people? As Jefferson sat down to draft the Declaration, he knew this was more than just a list of complaints. This was a statement to the world, a rally cry for a new vision and a new society. But why exactly did the colonies need such a document? What was the Declaration, and why did it matter so much? The relationship between Britain and its American colonies had been breaking down for years. Unfair taxes like the Stamp Act and the Tea Act pushed them to their limits. The Boston Tea Party in 1773 was the turning point, but the colonies still hadn't made a clear break. As tensions grew and escalated, the colonists faced a choice: stay loyal to the distant king or declare themselves independent and govern themselves. They chose the latter, and Thomas Jefferson's job was to explain why. The Declaration was born out of the need to express the reason behind the break for Britain. But it wasn't just a list of complaints. It was a statement of values that would define a new nation. The Declaration of Independence is divided into three main parts. First, the preamble lays out the core principles. It boldly declares that all men are created equal with the rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The second part, the grievances, lists the colonies' complaints against King George III. These grievances are what justified the decision to break free from Great Britain. They talked about unfair taxes, the presence of British soldiers, and the king's interference in government. Finally, the Declaration concludes with a formal statement: the colonies are and rightfully should be free and independent states. And with these words, America was born. The Declaration of Independence, with its famous words, all men are created equal, planted seeds of hope, just not for the colonists, but also for enslaved people who lived under the weight of oppression. The Declaration of Independence did not immediately free African Americans, but it did provide a foundation for future generations to challenge slavery. Phillis Wheatley, one of the earliest African American poets, used her writings to reflect on the ideals of the Declaration. Born in Africa and enslaved in America, her poetry explored themes of freedom, equality, and the hypocrisy of slavery in the nation fighting for its independence. Her 1773 poem to George Washington highlighted her belief that the revolution held promise for all oppressed people. In the same era, Elizabeth Freeman would also fight for her freedom. Born into slavery in Massachusetts, she overheard discussions about the Declaration and the Massachusetts Constitution, both of which spoke of the rights of all individuals. In 1781, she took the bold step of suing for her freedom, saying that the principles outlined in the document made slavery illegal. Her case was groundbreaking because she argued that the words "all men are born free and equal" in the Massachusetts Constitution applied to her as well. They agreed, and she won her freedom, becoming the first African American woman to legally be freed under the new American Constitution. Years later, Harriet Tubman, known as Moses for leading enslaved people to freedom through the Underground Railroad, drew strength from the same ideals. Tubman, who escaped slavery herself, helped hundreds of others reach freedom in the North. She believed that the principles laid out in the Declaration justified her fight for liberty. Frederick Douglass, one of the most powerful voices in the abolitionist movement, directly invoked the Declaration of Independence in his speeches and writings. Douglass, who escaped slavery in 1838, criticized the U.S. for its failure to live up to the ideals of equality stated in the Declaration. In his famous 1852 speech, "What to the Slave is the 4th of July?" Douglass asked how a nation founded on liberty could continue to enslave millions of people. While the Declaration of Independence did not abolish slavery in 1776, it provided a framework for the fight that would continue for nearly a century. The Declaration of Independence may have laid the groundwork for freedom and equality, but it would take nearly 90 years and a bloody civil war for those ideals to reach enslaved African Americans. Throughout the early 19th century, the country remained divided over the question of slavery. In 1863, Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation, a landmark document that declared all slaves in the Confederate state to be free. While it didn't end slavery outright, the Emancipation Proclamation marked a crucial step in turning the tide of the Civil War in favor of the Union. The Declaration of Independence had an immediate impact. It united the colonies in their fight for freedom and inspired them to keep fighting even when the odds seemed impossible. The Revolutionary War was long and brutal, but in 1783, America's independence was secured with the signing of the Treaty of Paris. More than just a piece of parchment, the Declaration of Independence symbolizes the ideals of freedom, equality, and the pursuit of happiness. It reminds us of the courage of those who stood up to our empire and asked for nothing less than liberty. Today, the Declaration still inspires us to ask, how can we live up to its promise?